Bonjour, my name is David DeVere. I'm a wine educator and traveler, and you're watching Savvy Nomad TV, the Eau de Vie edition. This is day 22 in 2022 of the second year of doing these videos. Whew, that is a lot of twos. How many twos is it? Too many to add up. Do you remember when we started, I could barely lift this box up? And now, whee! It's light as a feather. There isn't even really a, well, I guess there is. There's more than a bottle of wine left in here because there's 3. 2022, half bottle is 350 mils. A full-size bottle is 750 mils. So 2 halves make a whole. Oh, come on. Red cap, red wine. It's dark. Strut King Vino Rosso. Oh, so we've got an Italian blend, I think. 22 days is quite a few days, and if you've made it this far with me, good job. 2 more to go. That's a lot of 2s. Anyway, I think the graphic designer for the Costco Wine Box is getting a little bit tired because this Strut King, which is right there, this rooster, I'm pretty sure, and even the name, was the first wine from last year's box, an Italian Chardonnay. This one, of course, is red, but it's, who knows? It says Vino Rosso on it, so it's a red wine from Italy. Now, if you roll it around, you can see Vino Rosso d'Italia. Great. That's just another way to say a red wine from Italy. But it says semi-dry. Okay. Well, let's think about red wine blends for a minute. Now, we've touched on this a little bit before. If you don't have 75% of one variety or more in the bottle, you can't put one type on the bottle. So you can go to the liquor store and you'll see red blend. That's a word that gets used a lot. You'll see a term batted around, usually by the British, usually talking about Bordeaux blends, which are all blends, and they use the word claret. Yes, claret means red blend. And in Italy, usually the term that is used is Super Tuscan. Now, why do they call it a Super Tuscan? They can't call it a Chianti because it's not Sangiovese with other blends in it. It's not historic. To be a Chianti, it has to be Sangiovese and it has to be some other indigenous grapes. So they started making these international grape varieties, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Merlot, and they were doing them very well in this part of Tuscany in Italy. They couldn't call them Chiantis, so they called them Super Tuscans. Woo! Super Tuscans, which sounds maybe a little bit better to the marketers than Vino Rosso. So red blends, Vino Rossos, clarets, they're pretty common. They're from all over, and almost everybody does it. Even when it says Napa Cabernet Sauvignon, you know it's not, probably not 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. They put Merlot, they put Petit Syrah, they put Malbec in there. Everybody's using their artistry to make a wine. Now, the other thing in here that's interesting, it's the first one we've had, I believe. It says semi-dry. Semi-dry. So that, to me, means sweet. If it's not dry, if it's half dry, which the French would call demi-sec, sec dry, demi half, demi-sec would be semi-dry in English. So, do we have a sweet red wine from Italy? I don't know. Let's find out. Probably the most famous sweet red wine from Italy is Lambrusco. The brand that is the most famous used to be famous, maybe less famous now, is Riunite. And there's, depending on how old you are, you might remember the jingle for Riunite. I will not repeat it because it gets stuck in your head. But Lambrusco is delicious. I mean, if you haven't figured it out, I like all the wines. I am not particular. I taste and enjoy every style of wine. I even like some fruit wines like blueberry wine and stuff. But Riunite was a very popular brand in the 70s, and they had a very catchy logo. And it was a sweet, effervescent red wine. You can still get Lambruscos from Italy that are sweet and effervescent. Very, very enjoyable. What is this going to hold, and how will we score it? Well, let's start. If this is sweet, this is going to be fun. The wine box has not given us anything sweet, and it hasn't given us anything kind of desserty. Okay, let's look at the color. I can kind of see through it. It's not the deepest, darkest. It's on the scale of a Pinot Noir. So we've got ruby and pale. Okay, here's the aroma. Let's see what we get. If Sarah was here, she'd say it smells like red wine. There it is. There it is. Raspberries. Maybe some type of jam, like a 7-berry jam. I don't know if they make that even, but some type of jam with cooked fruit. And actually, I get a little bit of cedar. Gosh, this keeps opening. There's a lot of things in here. Cedar box, a little bit of licorice. You got to sniff around, hunt around in the glass. Wow, okay. Raspberry, cedar, licorice. I'm going to give it a 10 for aroma. I think it smells great. Okay, let's taste it. Semi-dry, huh? Well, that's no semi-dry that I've ever had. It's just plain old dry wine. It's not semi at all. It's dry. It's full-bodied, definitely. The acidity, okay. Where is it? It's in there. It's smooth. It's not a tart wine. I'm going to give it an 8. The tannins are nice. They're small. They're fine. You know, tannins sometimes can feel different ways in your mouth. They can be very aggressive and they can feel very big. They can be very fine and small and still be aggressive, still grippy. Or they can be very small and very smooth, velvety. These tannins are not that aggressive. They're kind of small. The alcohol's fine. The acidity is fine. The sugars are fine. It's very good. Okay, great. Nicely balanced. I'll give it an 8. Complexity. The aroma here was very interesting. Yes, very interesting. Let's taste it again and see if we get new aromas. It's interesting. Whoever blended this up, because it's just an Italian red blend, probably Cabernet Sauvignon, probably Merlot. They might have Sangiovese in there. Who knows? It's just artistic expression at this point. They did a nice job. I like this. I'm going to give it an 8. No. Is it fascinating? Should I go fascinating? Sure, why not? 9. Now, finish in length. It's a nice wine. It has a medium long finish. It's a good finish. Does it add to the sensation? Yeah, I can continue to taste that. Sure, I'll give it an 8. Ooh, this is sizing up to be a good score. Okay, here are my final scores for our Strut King Vino Rosso. Aroma 10, acidity 8, balance 8, complexity 9, finish and length 8, 43 points. Add that to 50, 93 points. I think that is our high water mark so far, but we've got 2 days left to go. Now, this wine to me is not semi-dry. Semi-dry is a sweetness indicator. This wine to me is dry wine. I would never consider this to be slightly sweet. Nevertheless, I think the wine is well made, aromatic, interesting, and obviously I thought it was complex. What did you think? Did you like it? This to me was the best red wine so far we've had. It scored that way, but it's the most complete package. And sometimes winemakers can actually do better than a single varietal. You don't always have to buy just one name of a grape on the label. You can buy red blends, you can buy clarets, you can buy Vino Rossos, you can buy Super Tuscans if you can afford them. And you can find some really beautiful wines because now it's not just agriculture, but it's also art. It's that expression of the winemaker's blending ability to bring that beautiful flavor to our mouth. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And I will see you tomorrow for day 23. Until then, I say a tutelaire and cheers.
Hello. I remember that name, Strut King. Okay. Oh, I want it to be a Chardonnay. Hey, that smells a little bit... I had a whiff of chocolate or cedar. Pretty ruby color. That is interesting. Kind of short-lived, but that first burst of flavors, like a little bit of chocolate or cedar or tobacco or something odd and yet fruity too, and kind of coconutty and vanilla-y. Seems sort of complex. Second to last day. Cheers.